T-Man 978 Chill Review. Hello everyone, T-Man 978 bringing you Marvel Legends, the entire wave of Guardians of the Galaxy figures. I started collecting Marvel Legends right before these were released, and I couldn't wait to get my hands on them. I was like, I get all the characters that are going to be in the movies, and the movie previews looked exciting. So, let me start telling you about how I feel about these individual toys. Ladies first, Gamora. She was the first Guardians of the Galaxy Marvel Legends figure I bought because when you see a female character of a toy line you like, buy her first. Unless you want to never ever see her on a shelf, or wait a very, very long time before you start seeing her again. And let's start with the pros. She's very nicely detailed. Like, you can see that mesh on her outfit. And I love the paint they did. Like, it's like kind of glimmery or shiny. I don't know how they got that effect, but it's like all over her body. And one cool thing about these Guardians of the Galaxy figures is you can't confuse them with any other character line because their outfits and body molds are like so particularly them. I like the paint in her hair. It's like really almost metallic looking. And the face sculpt, it's really, really, really close. Extremely close. But let's start getting into the cons. It's a little bit off. One thing I'm not liking about female characters as far as Marvel Legends, like that vacant blank stare, like what is she looking at? No matter how you pose her, you try to get her in a menacing pose, she just has that dead, lifeless face. Which, that's something I really don't like. Another thing that's unfortunate about her is her gripping hand. My son showed me that if you press it forward a little bit to like this point, her finger can like grab, her thumb can grab that little groove and she can hold it better, but she doesn't really hold it tight at all and it's always falling out. This hand, you can just forget about it. She has weapon storage if you want. You can like clip that there. And of course this belt is movable and independent from her body. And another con, these feet and ankles are very small. It is extremely difficult to get her standing. You don't know how long it took me to get her standing before I started the review. I did it right there, a little bit easy, but there's that. Diaphragm joint barely moves. Let's see. Her hips go out literally that much. They kick forward a good bit, but man, good luck getting her into some cool poses. It's possible. She still does have double jointed knees, no boot cut. She doesn't have ankle pivot. They just go forward and back and rotate, which is annoying. But she basically, other than that, has the typical Marvel Legends female articulation. Just she's hindered because of these stupid feet. Do I like her? Yeah, she's alright. I just wish she could stand up. So yes, she's one of my least favorite Marvel Legends figures. Let's get to the next person. And now we move over to Drax, and he is excellent. I mean, he is covered in textured details. This isn't just painted on. All of this is sculpted. And it came out really, really good. Like all the way around on his back. And it's expertly painted. Like, you don't get expert paint on Marvel Legends. At least not nowadays. And look at the textures and details in his clothing. See buckles right there. These boots. I mean, that is really, really good. And this likeness to Batista. That came out really well. Like, it's almost unbelievable. He comes with 2 weapons that can be stored in his boots right here. You can put these in his hands. And when you do that, he gives an extreme Kratos vibe from God of War. Hear me, Zeus! Of course, these knives can be held either angle, underslung or just like a regular knife hold. But he's really, really good, and he's definitely one of my kids' favorites. If they play with my Marvel Legends, they definitely like playing with this guy. But as you can probably notice, I like this guy. So let's move to the next figure. Rocket Raccoon. For a lot of people, this is probably the star of the line. But he's the most lacking to me. Here he is. He comes with this big gun. I believe it's really faithful to the movie. It's been a minute since I've watched the movie. Like, he also came packaged with this thing. I forget what it was called. They used it once in the movie. Well, I think it was just once in the movie. It's shot. At first, I thought it was some type of rocket pack, and I was trying to figure out how to get him to hold the handles on there, but it's really a weapon. But anywho, the face just looks like a regular raccoon. I mean, it's good, but it's completely, totally lifeless, just like a raccoon standing up with a suit on, which was what he looked like, but yeah. It's extremely difficult to get his hand actually holding that handle in there, but there is a handle in there. I'm going to stop trying to do that. I just posed him. It was just posted up in there. He has 2 points of articulation in his elbow. In his shoulder. He had 2 in the elbow too. He's not double jointed. It does swivel. And he has a swivel in his little tiny hands right there. He has 1 point, I believe, in his head. Yeah, 1 point. But it barely, looks up or down. And his head can fit on other people's body. Like, I put it on Spider-Man before just to take a funny picture. He has, I don't know if you would call this a diaphragm since it's in his waist. But he has a waist joint that's really a ball joint. I think it is. I'm not going to pop that off. The tail has 1 single joint, and you really need this for posability. And what kills this figure to me is there's no posability in the legs. He's just a statue from the waist down. And that can be a bit boring. I mean, I don't know why. Rather than give us this gun right here, I would have rather them give us articulated legs. But anyway. Here's his detail on his back. One of my first videos I decided to put on YouTube was me buying one of these, trying to move the shoulder, and the arm just popped right off. But I got lucky, unlike some people who've never seen this guy in stores. I've seen him several times, so I was able to buy another one and replace it. Anyway, let me show you what this weapon is supposed to be about. Like I said, it's been a minute since I watched the movie, so I can't recall who actually shot this. I feel like it was Drax, but it could have been Star-Lord. I can't remember. But anyhow, basically there's some handles right there. You get a character to hold both sides. It rests on a person's chest, and they can shoot out a very powerful blast. And it rests down the stomach looking like that. And this thing is extremely intricately detailed. I mean, it came out amazingly. It doesn't do anything besides let the characters hold it, and there's some handles down there. So I don't know, maybe Rocket could hold that and pretend this is some type of rocket pack, but there you go. It's made out of like a flexible material, but yeah, there's that. Let me get to the next person. Peter Quill Star-Lord. This is another example of the fact that they put a lot of money into this line, because the details and They're so specifically Guardians of the Galaxy. This is a soft plastic. I don't know. I would want to say rubber, but it's a soft plastic material. It's detailed on it inside a bit, like they painted all in there, which is really cool. They didn't just paint the outside. But as you can see, it comes all the way down to his ankles. While we're looking at his ankles, here are those ankle thrusters he used in the movie. They're nicely detailed, and here's the back of his boot. I mean, these guys are covered in details, and I don't believe they've been reused yet. Unlike the box, he has a waist joint right here on his actual waist. On the box, it shows that his waist is cut inside of the jacket, which is weird, and I'm happy they didn't do that. But man, he is very, very detailed. Close up on this mask. It looks really good. Excuse me. If you hear me sniffling my allergies, it's that season. But he has all the typical joints a male character would have, like his 2 points in the neck. So he can do a little tilt and bend forward, look up. They have a cut right there in the upper bicep. Inward, outward motion on the hands. And the hands, each individual finger is sculpted and cut out, which is good so you can get a grip around that trigger. Here's a detail right there on this arm. Doesn't have that on this arm. And let me try to open up the jacket a little bit to show off those details. But yeah, his legs go out about that much, so he's in the same boat as Gamora right there. Can kick out, double jointed knees, and when you bend the knees, that breaks up right there, which I don't like too much. And they went all out for this guy in particular. Let me show you some of his other accessories. I didn't go into detail on his backpack right here. I'm gonna guess this can come off, but I'm not gonna try that. But let me go into his other accessories. First accessory, his head, which doesn't at all look like Chris Pratt to me. I mean, you have to really be squinting and then looking through a glass of water to think that looks like Chris Pratt. Maybe it has his outlines, but I don't know. You tell me. This eye is kind of not painted right, which I don't really like too much. Other than that, he comes with these headphones. They're not super detailed and they're not painted. Of course, you can put them on his head. They don't really get on his ears too well due to the hair. But you get the picture. There are the headphones. Here's his Walkman, which if you didn't watch the movie, you would have no clue what this thing is because it's not really detailed at all, really. It has little, you're probably just going to be seeing my yellow fingernails. Come on, focus. It has a few buttons detailed in there, but you wouldn't know what that is. And the MacGuffin of the movie, the little ball that had the Infinity Stone in there, it just looks like a wadded up piece of aluminum foil. Not too different than what it looked like in the movie. And that's nicely detailed, but yeah. A ton of the budget went into this guy and his accessories. How I feel about him? He's not one of my favorite. I don't really. This outfit looked good in the movie, but it's only like, yeah, it's cool. He's good, but he wasn't one of my favorite, and I don't think he was a lot of people's favorite because he and Iron Man stank up the shelf. But I think they came two to a case, so that might be another reason. But he's just all right, and he does have an ab crunch that you can't really see. It doesn't really bend too well, and you can't really make it go back at all due to this jacket. But next, speaking of Iron Man, here he is. And, I mean, he's the most least impressive, besides Rocket, most least impressive figure, I think, of the whole entire line. I mean, he looks good. I don't want to hate on him too bad. Like, he looks way better than I remember when I first bought him, because I basically just bought him so I could get the Groot Build-A-Figure part. But then I just put him in a bag somewhere and never touched him. My kids don't like him either that much because this right here. These shoulder pads. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it to happen right here. Try to pose his arms and they just pop off. And then you take him off and he looks even less impressive than he did before. But anywho, let's get a close-up on some of his details. There's his arc reactor. Here's his face. I think another reason why I didn't like him, and probably a lot of kids probably didn't like him, is you can't even really tell that's Iron Man. Looking at him right now, he has a lot in common with, let me try to find it. He has a lot in common with Star-Lord's helmet, a little bit, looking at that brow, and maybe the mouth a little bit. But this is supposed to be Iron Man that was based on the comics Iron Man that was a part of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Just to let you know, he does have 2 points in the neck and all the basic Marvel Legends articulation. Been back that much, been forward this much. No boot cut, but an ankle pivot. He's just basic. If he looked more like movie Iron Man, I think I probably would have liked him more. And if these shoulder pads didn't come off, they go back on simple enough. And I never know which is which after they pop off. I guess it doesn't matter because they're shaped basically the same. They are the same piece. So I guess it doesn't matter which one you put back on. No real detail back there if I didn't show that off. Minimal paint. But yeah, there he is. You could probably still find this guy in stores because nobody wanted him. Anywho, next up, Nova, another character that wasn't in the movie, but unfortunately for the other characters, he's the star of this line for me. I really love him. I really like the way he came out. It's like chock full of great paintwork and detail. Like mine says this line right here. I don't know if it's supposed to be a line right there because it's not on that side. And it kind of looks ugly when you twist it like that. It looks like somebody made a mistake and put a silver mark Sharpie right there. But he looks awesome. I like his paint and his detail. I mentioned that a couple times already. But you can crunch in that much. Crunch back. And it's almost like no matter what you do, you just one of those Marvel Legends figures that just looks good, even just punching forward like that. And he just looks awesome. Here's a close-up on his face. A lot of people had a problem with that star, I guess because it's thick and chunky and not flat. I don't know if that's impossible for Hasbro to do, or if there's some other reason why they did that, but there he is. And unlike Iron Man, his shoulder pads have like a little joint, so they don't pop off. Yeah. More of his detail. There's his belt buckle right there. These things on his arm, which they're glued to the arm, but they're soft on the edges. On the legs too, they're glued to the front of the legs, but they're soft on the edges. Unlike the Marvel Universe figure, these on the Universe figure, these just rotate all around, all unwieldily. But there's a detail on the back of his boot. He has no boot cut, but he has double jointed knees, and his legs can spread out further than Star-Lord's and Gamora's. Kick forward that much, and not really back. And that's how high the pads go out. But, man, close up on his back detail. Like you can see the creases in his uniform right there on the back of his butt. Yeah, this came out really good. I like him. Even though he's not even in the movie, he's not officially. They had some Nova Corp people in there, but they didn't have this guy. But this is my favorite out of the Guardians of the Galaxy line. So there's that. Lastly, I bring you Groot, which was the star of the line for some people as well, since he's the Build-A-Figure. And he's really the reason why I purchased like all of these figures, just to get him, so I can make sure I have the whole Guardians team. But I'm going to be honest, I was kind of disappointed. Like, one thing that disappoints me is this face. It's just so blank and lifeless. I mean, it's expertly sculpted. I mean, that looks really, really good. That is amazing. I don't want to take away from them. I want to say that looks amazing. Here's the detail on the back of his head. Details on the top. I mean, he looks like real tree bark. You see some green in there. Some green on his arm. I think, no, it's just a single ball joint. Right there. Here's more of his back and butt area. His legs. But I think what really kills it for me is, I think one of the characters should have came with a different head, so he could have like maybe an angry face. So when you're going to go pose him, he actually looks menacing, like he's about to attack. But it's really hard to do that. Anyhow, here's his diaphragm joint. Not really good with side motion, but he goes forward that much and goes back that much. His hands just look like some twigs put together. They do have inward and outward motion. This one is more gripping. So I guess you could put that around somebody's neck. The legs bent out at a weird angle. And then the knees, they also kind of bend weird. And he doesn't have double jointed knees. A frustrating experience with that. The foot goes back that much. It doesn't really kick forward. Yes, it does. It kicks forward. And ankle pivot. I mean, you could try your best to get him into some type of pose, but he just looks like good. So, I mean, he does the job. When you have all of them together, posed together, they look excellent, so I'm happy about that. But this was the main reason why I got this line, so I could build him, because he looked cool in the previews, but in hand, he's just kind of boring. So, man, this line, mostly besides Nova and Drax, and I guess Star-Lord a little bit, I've been mostly disappointed with all of these. But let me bring them all back out together. At the end of the day, this setup right here is why you purchased all these characters. And they do look good together. If you want to, you can take these other optional characters who I don't know if you feel fit into this situation, but you got 2 more characters. Or you could take them and put them in with your other more comic accurate Marvel Legends figures. Well, one thing I want to say, it took me literally like 10 plus minutes to get her to stand up because of those feet. I don't know why Hasbro doesn't include a stand for figures they know can't stand up. And they have peg holes in the bottom of the feet. But if she stands up right now, thank you. But anywho, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a like, share, subscribe, comment. Until next time, T-Man978, out of here.